Hello, friends. Today we are going to talk about the failures of our ancestors, as well as the failures of our predecessors, and what we can learn from them going forward, and how we can use their failures to sort of catapult the black race into success. So, to start off with that, we're going to talk about how the European even comes to contact with Africa. The European comes into contact with Africa around 600 years ago, so that puts us right about 1400s or so, right? The early 1400s. Now, when that happens initially, it starts off pretty peaceful with trade, right? They're trading gold, iron, silver, ivory, a whole bunch of other stuff, right? But it quickly blossoms to trading enslaved people. And then trading enslaved people then turns into imperialism. And the white race very quickly galvanizes and makes its way into Africa, which starts 600 years of oppression and the white hegemony we live in today and the world as we know it. So, at this point, when they first meet, right, the first failure is made visible. And this first failure I want to talk about is the black race's failure back then to not establish one race. Now, as we know, pre colonial Africa was not just one black race, okay? Pre colonial Africa was a lot of different tribes who, most of these times, a lot of these people are strangers because Africa is a very, very, very big continent, right? Africa is a huge continent, and most of these times, these people were not like friendly with each other, or as you may say, they lived at peace, essentially, right? A lot of different tribes living at peace. So, because of that, there was no concept of the black race, the white race, the Chinese race. That wasn't a thing, essentially. That only became a thing when the Europeans decided, hey, we are going to take away the rights of people who we deem as darker than us, right? And because of that, we are going to say the white race, people that look like us, are superior and therefore have the right to do these atrocities against mankind. Okay? That is when the white race was created. Now, to their credit, they were able to do that rather quickly, right? And they aimed their hatred, which was previously on each other, because Europe was not on peace. Okay, Europe was constantly fighting each other. Little clans and little tribes. Yes, I know. Little tribes in Europe kept fighting each other. They kept murdering each other at an alarming rate, of course. But they transferred all that hate to others who were darker than them. India, Africa, the Asians too, right? So our first failure of our ancestors was the fact that upon this violent campaign by the Europeans, they did not all take a step back, look around, and say, hey, all these people have come together as the white race to come and take away our rights, take away our resources. They're stealing, they're pillaging, they're doing a lot of bad stuff in this continent. We all need to come together as one race and put aside our differences for now and fight this enemy and get him out of here, right? That was their first mistake. They were not able to come together and essentially say, you know what, we're one black race with one destiny, which is to stop these people from coming in and taking everything that we have. That was their first problem. Now, that sort of kept going on until we have our predecessors, someone like Kwame Nkrumah, right? This this failure to create the black race ultimately leads to people starting to think around the time Kwame Nkrumah was born uh, of the idea of Pan Africanism. Okay, Pan Africanism is the idea that the black race should be united as a whole. We should all be seen as one people with one governing body, and we should all be seen as one race. Right now, around the time of Kwame Nkrumah, he started going around this ideology of Pan Africanism, right? Which was good. It was great. But at this point, our long history of not being able to discover one race is holding us back a lot. So a lot of people are still almost against his ideology, even though their entire land is being colonized by these Western powers. Okay, when you look at Kwame Nkrumah's first presidency, we see that his presidency was foiled by a coup which was made possible because the northerners of his country were so upset that he was not from their tribe and that they were lacking representation, even though what he was trying to do was achieve a Pan Africanist state or a Pan Africanist worldview. So a lot of the people from there got pissed off, which made the coup possible. The CIA later released the documents that they were very, very heavily involved in that. Right? That's fine. And so that takes us on to a lot of these African revolutionaries who had these great ideas, ideas that were very noble, which I would have loved to see come to full fruition. However, they were missing the first step. And this brings us to our second failure. They were too timid. Okay? Our predecessors were way too timid. They kept holding on to this belief that the people who have been taking millions from their land would somehow, listen to them and come to respect them with just words. Okay? Which is false. Because these same people didn't really understand each other in their own homeland unless it was invasions or just war. Okay? Now, this was very, very, very bad, as we can tell, because all of our predecessors, they kept appealing to these Western powers. They kept trying to achieve sovereignty by way of democracy. They kept trying to talk these people into anti-imperialism and anti-colonial. That was never going to happen. You and I know that, okay? That was never going to happen. They were too timid, okay? Around this time, the 1940s and the 50s and 60s, that little 30-year period where WMDs are being discovered for the first time, okay? Around this time, what Africa should have done, what our predecessors should have done, was essentially got those same WMDs and had each other by the balls almost to say, hey, if you do not leave us alone, we will all be destroyed. Okay? Because that is what that is the only thing these people listen to. That is literally the only thing these people listen to. Okay? Now, the second failure, too timid. Patrice Lumumba. Okay, great ideas. Too timid. He gets terminated. Thomas Sankara, the same thing. He was too timid. Kwame Nkrumah actually tried to launch a nuclear program in '61. That also failed. And so when we look at all of our predecessors and all these great ideas that they had, okay, they were all missing one thing. They did not push for militarization. They did not push for a strong WMD program, as we know. And so what can we learn from these people? Ultimately, what we can learn from them is that in order for us to get these people to leave us alone, for us to actually carry out the ideas that our predecessors had, like education and advancements in medicine and advancements in science and infrastructure, in order to get these people to stay out of our way, to leave us alone, to actually carry out these ideas, we need one thing and one thing only. We need to have a shared destruction with them. Okay? That is what we need. That is what we can learn from our predecessors. Of course, we could take their ideas. They had some great ideas. They had lovely ideas, which you and I would love to see come into fruition. So we can both look back and see that, you know what, there were some flaws in the way they went about these things. And that is a mistake I do not want us to repeat. Going forward, this new age of black nationalism should have one thing at its focus. One thing and one thing only. Defense. Okay? You want to build an infrastructure project for Africa. You want to advance its medicine. You want to build free education for its children. Those are all great ideas. Those are superb ideas. Ideas I would like to see come into fruition. However, to do that, if you start doing that, and you cannot protect yourselves from these T groups these people will fund to come and destabilize your nation, well then that you're just going to end up back at square one. If you start building infrastructure and these people make up some fake reason, like they've done to Maduro, they make up this fake reason, and they come to your country to say, hey, we're going to come kidnap you, well, then you're just back to square one, okay? You need to take the North Korea approach, the China approach, okay? You need to have a shared mutual destruction with these people. Because if not, they will never leave you alone, and you will never be able to achieve what you actually want to achieve. Thank you. And that is all for today's video. Have a good day, friends.